Okay. Can we move on?
Yeah.
Now our favorite portion of the week. Our updates on the Rubashkin case.
I can't wait.
Can't wait. Alright. For those who don't know, I gotta mention, this is the Sholom Rubashkin processor's case central on the internet. This is the place that everyone is turning to get information about the Rubashkin case. We are huge right now in the inner circles of the Rubashkin team, if you will, of his inner circles and their legal counsel, and everybody's aware of us lately. We're huge. You realize how big we are?
No.
We're big.
I'm just studying Toro Day, and I think about, oh, how big am I? Oh, I'm so big. Oh, I'm really, really big.
Okay.
I'm thinking about the Torah is big.
Okay.
The Torah is so vast. Hashem is the biggest big out there. That's what I'm thinking about all day.
I know. Well, not all of us are at your level.
Exactly.
Okay, and just letting you know, we're big, and everyone who has information that's relevant to the Rubashkin thing that hasn't been come out to public light yet, they're coming to us, lady. They're coming to us. We are apparently God's chosen repository for information that's vital to the case. They're coming to us, lady.
Mm-hmm.
And like every week I think, well, I think we're done with this. And then every week, like, more information comes to us. You want to hear what came this week?
What came this week?
We got a couple of emails, lady. You want me to read them out?
Exactly.
All right, this is where, by the way, if you have information, don't be shy, send it to us. We're not going anywhere. We're starting our second year. We're going to be here, we're going to be around, we're going to be syndicated. We're going to be around at least 5 years, lady.
Exactly.
We're going to
play the highlights on.
Yeah. So, we should come up with a greatest hits album.
Well, we kind of do.
Oh, okay. So.
And call in, folks. We're taking calls. If you know my cell phone number.
Yeah. Call us. Send us your information about the Rubashkin thing. We'll read it on the air. So we got 2 emails this week, lady. I'm going to read them out. Okay.
Okay.
All right. One is from I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know if it's Rachel or Rachel. I think it's Rachel just because she sounds very frum. So I'm going to go with Rachel because you can't get a pronunciation on an email. So let's say it's Rachel, and she writes, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay. Dear Rabbi and Levi. Okay. I've been watching and following the news over the past few years concerning Sholom Rubashkin. What I have noticed is that each individual, to the person involved in this criminal case, seems to feel that they have more credibility and are more trustworthy than Rubashkin could ever be. So I was wondering, it appears that no one in the Sholom Mordechai Rubashkin criminal case has any idea of what the frum Jewish world, its culture, and the traditional interpretation and application of the laws and ethics of the written and oral Torah are all about. I also believe that they have no idea why 27% of Israeli Jews and 10% of the Jewish population in the United States who are religious Jews smell a rat in the Rubashkin case. In other words, they're totally clueless. Right? They don't understand what Jews are, and they don't understand why Jews smell a rat. Okay? She continues. The Torah Jews each know that Sholom Rubashkin, along with his father's help, they could have asked the religious community to invest in their company, and they would have never had to use a bank, any bank. The Rubashkins have so much credibility in the Hasidic community until no one, not even the judge, the prosecutor, the investigators, portrayal, I don't know what that means, probation, etc., could come close to commanding the level of trust and honor that the Rubashkins still have amongst those who they know. Could the judge, the prosecutor in the case, go out and raise enough money to even defend themselves in a case like this, much less borrow enough money to build another packing house and start all over again? I'm just asking, do they even understand why they can never have a level of trust and credibility among their communities that the Rubashkins command amongst theirs? The Rubashkins could not have defaulted on a bank loan because they could have always come to their community for help and gotten it in a New York minute. No matter what, thus even though the Rubashkins were lax in their use of monies that the bank had loaned them, the Rubashkins always knew that the bank would be paid back. So to say that, I think her point is, to say that, they defaulted on a loan and they're criminals doesn't make sense because they would have gotten the money from somebody. As we see, that everybody supports them. The only reason the bank didn't get paid back is because anyone, this is very important, the only reason that the bank didn't get paid is because anyone who wanted to help the Rubashkins were intimidated at first by the judge and the prosecutor in the case, and then were afraid to step forward and say, this man would never have defaulted if you had not planned how to trip him up and force him into the default. What do you think of those? What do you think of those allegations?
Reminds me of this black girl on you.
Way to ruin the segment, lady. Way to ruin the segment. This segment's gonna go viral. Everybody's gonna be watching this everywhere, and they're gonna be like, oh, and that's Levy going off with the black chick. It's great. Way to ruin the segment. Way to ruin your career. Like everything else that you've done. All right, can I go on to the next email? So that's the first one. Thank you, Rachel. I read your email on the air. The other one comes in from a Yankee. And I'm not going to quote him verbatim, but basically he discovered a whole new conflict. Like, let's just wrap up what we've had the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago we discussed the Burger King bailout. Remember that? We talked about the Burger King bailout because the judge in the case, the one who presided over the Rubashkin case and gave him the verdict of 27 years, she has a conflict of interest list, and on that conflict of interest list was Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs is heavily invested in Burger King, right? And Burger King had issues with taking advantage of its employees, and so to deflect the, you could say that to deflect the attention away from Burger King's problems, let's go find somebody else. Let's throw the Jew down the well, right? We've been saying that the last couple of weeks, right? Let's throw Rubashkin down the well because I would say that he's also got taking advantage of his employees, right? So because of that, because she's heavily invested in Burger King, and you could say that, so you see that there's a potential conflict of interest because it's the appearance of impropriety. And the following week, last week, we talked about how it even gets worse. Because Burger King's only the #2 fast food restaurant, and Goldman Sachs isn't that huge of a company. But last week we talked about Chase Bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, who I believe is the biggest bank in America, and they were heavily involved in the investment of the biggest meat industry biggest meat conglomerate in the world. It's called JBS Swift, and Swift, for those who remember, was busted by immigration officials in the United States because they had 1,200 illegal aliens. Yet nobody in Swift went to prison for 27 years like Rubashkin did, right? So you see that there's something fishy going on. Like, this woman Rachel wrote, there's a rat. We smell a rat because something doesn't add up here.
Something smells fishy.
Something smells fishy in the meat industry. And, okay, so that's the story with that. So we had the conflict of interest because J.P. Morgan is on the judge's conflict of interest list, just like Goldman Sachs. J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs are heavily invested, and you could make the case that there is reason to believe that there would be favoritism. In her advantage, she would have a financial gain to send Rubashkin down the well, to send the media and the government and everybody after the Jew, which she's not invested with at all. That's the competition, and she would stay with her. She would, take a financial gain from that. She has gained financially by sending him down the well, by closing out agro-processors. Even if it wasn't her intention, there is at least the appearance of impropriety. Remember that? You know what I was thinking? I wanted to add to this real quickly, right? Is that in baseball, you're not allowed to bet. If you're like, remember Pete Rose got kicked out of baseball?
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to bet on teams if you're like involved in baseball.
Yeah.
Right? But he never, it wasn't like he threw the game.
Yeah.
He bet on himself. He bet on
Yeah.
his own team. So like, what's the problem?
Exactly.
But what is the problem, Levy? You know what the problem with that is?
Impropriety. Looks bad.
It looks bad. You know why it looks bad? Because you're the manager.
Yeah, you could throw a pitcher in.
Bingo! You manipulate the pitching order. So the nights that you're taking your team, some nights you don't have a bet going. But the nights you're taking your team are the nights that you put in your pitcher. That means on other nights you might be more tempted to lose. See, it's the appearance of impropriety. It doesn't look right, and it's bad for baseball, right? It's bad for baseball. And that's why Pete Rose is never going to get in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what, but the point is, it's the appearance of impropriety. It's when your competition, you don't want if you play for the Lakers, right? You don't want the judge in the case to be a Celtics fan. right? You're going up because he's going to put you in jail just so, the competition. That doesn't make any sense. So that, just because, we're not talking about somebody who's owned by them, like a Celtic was going up. That would be a case of conflict of interest. But even if a Laker was going up in front of a Celtic judge, it's a conflict of interest because it's the competition. Okay, so that's easily explainable. So Yankee wrote in, and he said he discovered a whole new conflict, a third conflict in addition to those two. And he's still working on it, and will hopefully be able to share it next week, maybe. So we have something to look forward to next week, is that Yankee's got a whole new conflict. But before then, you should all prepare for it by watching 2 videos. And you can do so by going to your YouTube search and type in the phrase Rubashkin lawyer speaks at a Gouda dinner. Have you watched these videos? It's a 2-part video series.
I was busy watching other videos.
Yeah, I know all about your videos. Rubashkin lawyer speaks at a Gouda dinner. Okay, and everybody should watch that. I'm going to post the links to the videos tomorrow on the Torah Talks fan page on Facebook, and all of you should, of course, join that. If you're not part of it, then you're just completely missing out. So if you're on Facebook, find us at Torah Talks fan page, the Torah Talks fan page with Rabbi Rebs and Luke Ford. If you're not part of Facebook, you should join it just for that. That's our home. And I would also say that you should please, everybody watching this should please mention this request that I made to anyone you know who might be interested in the Rubashkin case. Tell them where they can find us on YouTube. Tell us where they can tune in next week, because we are the home, lady. We are Rubashkin Central. This is where people are coming to with their information and their hot tips. Okay?
So you're talking about bailouts.
Yes.
Different times in my life have I been bailed out by Oriental women.
I think the segment that's going to be used to go viral just ended, because this isn't going to want to be on it. Okay.
Because, I've been down and out, I've been struggling, I've been going through some tough times, and there's just a nurturing quality in an Oriental woman that's often not there with the white woman, the Latino woman, and even the black woman. There's just a soft, gentle, nurturing quality that many Oriental women have, and also they have a way of just squeezing you tight. They just wrap you up in their love, and they squeeze you so tight that so many white women out there are just sloppy. You just feel like
what does this have to do with the Rubashkin
lost
case?
In the Grand Canyon. It's
what does this have to do with anything?
You can't even feel the sides of the Grand Canyon. It's you are so lost, and it's in those times you go, oh,
right.
I wish I could be squeezed by an Oriental woman right now. Because they know how to nurture a man. They don't put him down in public. They don't bust his chops. They're just very subtle, and they just do these very subtle squeezing manipulations that are just amazing. So I just wanted to say that for the Oriental woman who has bailed me out of so many difficulties in my life, when my brow has been furrowed, when I'm struggling with my health or my finances, and like an angel, some tiny little Oriental woman. They've all been 4'10", 5 feet tall, maybe even 5'2" at the tallest. They're just little, so they can't really fight back, and they're just. And it's so important to be grateful for your lot, and to be grateful for the people who've come your way in life, and in life we're having conversation with other people, and often other people will be a missing word in our conversation, or often there'll be whole sentences and paragraphs. And some of these Oriental women were just whole sentences and paragraphs in the conversation of my life.
Did they say
they just added so much depth?
Did they say oh, Ching Chong Ling Long Ting Tong?
Exactly.
Ching Chong Ling Long Ting Tong.
Exactly.
Oh.
They knew exactly what would turn my crank.
And they say, lady, you want to make sucky?
Oh, no, they were never crude.
Me so horny. No. Me love you long time.
No, they didn't talk like hookers. They didn't act like hookers. A lot of, Jackie Mason says, you tell a Jewish woman, oh, you look like a hooker, and she says, thank you. But not with Oriental women.
All right, here's what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing beautifully on that segment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That was ready to go viral.
Mm-hmm.
But this part is not going to be chewed out. And now, by the time we get to the end part, where I want to say, remember to send your checks to us, we can't put it in the viral video baby, because nobody's wants to hear about you drooling over Oriental women.
I wasn't drooling, I was just remembering. Like with gratitude. It's so important to have gratitude for the good things in life.
Right.
And for the people who come
But
your
you
way
see
and
how
have
you,
shown you some kindness.
do you see how you're your own worst enemy? Because you could have had in the segment us asking for money, and you never know, somebody might have given us money, but instead you had to talk about Oriental women. Here's my prediction for tomorrow, and I'm willing to bet on this one. Here, you're going to see a segment on his YouTube, and it's going to have this whole conversation on it. And that will go viral, by the way. And since everybody's watching that, I'll just leave this part in. Remember to send your checks to us, because no place on the internet, no place else on the internet is anybody working harder to crack this Rubashkin case. He's going to get out of prison. You know it. We know it. It's going to be us, Rabs and Levy, who are going to get this guy out of prison. It's going to happen quickly. You want to be part of it. Keep sending your checks to us. So important. And where else on the internet is your money, your non-tax deductible dollars going to go, right? Get him out of prison, and at the same time hear about how there's a thing called an Oriental woman bailout. Who else is going to talk about that in the same show? Maybe they're not going to find that anywhere. That's the beauty of this show, right?
And if you donate money to the show, you can call in on my cell phone. We'll put you on speaker, and the whole world can hear what you have to say.
Hey, how come nobody's called in already? Come on, give us a call. Do you give your phone number out to anybody yet?
No.
Nobody wants to call in?
No.
They don't want to call in.
We don't need to beg them when the time comes, when they feel the inspiration, when they feel Heavenly Father saying, call into the show.
Right. You know what? I want to mention we were talking about money and stuff. People should send their money. I want to remind you that the first of the month is coming up this week, lady. The first of the month, before we have our next show next week. Next Monday night's our next show. Before then is the first of the month. And we've said that we want our checks to come in the beginning of the month. So remember, folks, if you're a sponsor, you should be getting ready to send us money at the top of this month, which is this week. So let's get that ready. And if you're not a sponsor yet, you should be.